Hello and welcome to Everything Dance, your mentor. My name is Dawn and thank you so much for being here. This is part 3 of my dance journey. So if you haven't seen the 2 previous ones, then after this one, go back and watch them because I'm trying to keep them into some sort of order as how I progressed. So, of course, you can watch individual ones, but it's better to get the full story from the beginning. So go back, look in my lives, and you will see my dance journey, episodes 1 and 2. Now, the last episode, I just watched it back to see where I got up to because I hadn't finished what I wanted to talk about, but there was so much to say. So the second part will now be this part 3. And I was laughing while I was watching it back. It's sad, but it's funny. So do go and watch part 1 and part 2. I didn't quite finish it, but I think I know where I'm up to. Okay, so we were really talking about the shows I did at my stage school when I was a child and the trauma. That's why I say it was sad, but it was funny on like looking back at it, but it was so traumatic at the time. But anyway, that was the last episode. So apart from doing stage shows, and as I'm saying, we're not talking about in a little community hall or something like that. We're talking about a big proper theatre. I don't know how many it held, but all I know is that we were going to use Wimbledon Theatre, but there wasn't enough dressing room space. So this was a comparison. What we did use, it was quite nearby to that, and it had a proper circle in the theatre and everything. It was very big, very big. Okay, so apart from doing the actual stage shows and a couple of things I mentioned in the last episode, we also, when I got to teenage, maybe just before teenage, we started doing what was called the Arts Awards. Now, these were kind of like you were being examined doing your show pieces. So I wouldn't like to say exactly how it worked because I'm not 100% sure, but I believe an examiner would be invited to come and watch the show and you would enter certain dances. But I'm pretty sure that the owner of the school also entered the show as a whole, so they could go and look at different stage schools and dance schools shows, and then they would judge the best show overall. So these were called the Arts Awards, and they weren't easy to get high marks because, as you can imagine, think of a little bit like Dance Mums and the way they do a showpiece, like a dance competition. Think of that, but they were coming to your show and judging it then. That's what that was. I believe that's right. Now, I also think there you could do an examination as well, like your dance exam days, and you could do a different one for the Arts Awards, and then you could pass then. So it would be like an examination setting as well. You could do it, I believe. So there's that. So we did those as well, and they were quite prestigious. As I say, they were very hard to get high marks. Not the days now when everyone has to get a prize and everyone has to pass. No. So there was that. And I can't remember if I got to last show about Pianist, because the bit I watched, I said, I'll get to Pianist a bit later on. So I'll briefly go into Pianist. I can't remember if I got to that or not. We had a few pianists, and look at the last part as well, because I do talk about why we had pianists more than not in the old days. And one pianist was a very old lady, and she used to sit there doing her knitting while she wasn't playing, because she wasn't needed the whole time. And sometimes she did nod off and she had to be woken up when they wanted her to play. We had another pianist randomly, I think when that first one died. We had another pianist who was a mother of a child that we didn't really know. She was another dance department, another branch, because the stage school I went to had many different branches, locations around London and South London. So she was there, so we didn't really know her. I knew her later on, but not so much then. And then we had a man who was brilliant. He never used sheet music. He couldn't read sheet music, but you could even hum him a tune and he could play it even if he'd never heard it. He played by ear. And when you hear people do that, he really did do that. It might be a tune he doesn't even know, and then he could play it. And at our stage school shows, we had a full orchestra. So we had drummer and this guy playing on the piano, and I think there was a trumpet player or trombone player. As we progressed, I don't remember them in the first years, I don't really remember, but as I was much older, we had quite maybe a 5-piece band, I would like to say, for the last time I was there. So really good. And then I don't know if I talked about this last time or not, but this really lovely guy used to go and put the money on top of the piano if he was playing for your class, and he was playing in one of the stage school shows, and we were doing a tap dance, where you'll see the intro, you can see some of the pictures of the outfits that I talk about, and it's where I'm wearing a green tailcoat, and we were doing a tap dance. And as I said in the last video, the last live, we always sung as we danced, and there's not many dancers or singers who could do that these days, and not with mics either. So that's stamina and that's true ability, that we sung and danced at the same time. So we're doing this tap dance with the songs. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. Give my regards to Broadway, and your final return will not diminish, and then it circles back to the other song. And he had a heart attack, unbeknown to anyone, in the middle of this. And we're dancing up and down. If you see the picture, you can see that the back, there's 3 levels of white stairs, and they go all the way across the stage, and we're dancing up and down them, and then coming down the front, dancing all while we're singing, and back up there and whatever else. Remember, I was always in classes of much older children, because I started so young, younger than she normally accepted children, so I was automatically in an older age group to start with, and obviously she wasn't going to put me down when younger ones started. So I was always much younger than the rest of my class. Anyway, so we're dancing along and singing, and he's having this heart attack, but a true professional, he tried to keep playing. But where you went into another song, he went back to a different song. So remember, we're dancing and we've moved, say, from the steps to the front, and then suddenly he's playing our choreography for Up on the Steps. But because they were older than me, and obviously was quite professional by then, well, I don't know, I'm going to say I was young teenager maybe. I'm guessing 12, 13, I don't know, but I wasn't little. We learnt to be professional no matter what. And we kind of look at each other, keep singing. We know the song because he's playing it, even though it's the wrong one. So we're singing it. We're all just strolling. We had canes and top hats, and we're all just strolling till we get back into a position where we can, obviously, all in our heads, we know, all right, we're singing this song till we get there. We know where the next bit is going to be, let's say the next chorus or something. And we all know, without talking to each other, we're going to get in position so we can start afresh at this new place when it gets to a chorus or new verse or whatever. And we all just did it, no problem at all. Nobody noticed, even the teacher on the side watching. She probably thought, why are they all suddenly strolling? We're sort of dancing, strolling. And she probably didn't even realise quite what had occurred, as if almost we'd done the dance wrong. We all realised we were in the wrong place. That's how good he kept playing. And yeah, unfortunately, yeah, he had a massive heart attack, but he played to the end in whatever shape or form of that dance. He didn't play every single act, because obviously you use piped in music and whatever else. So he just needed to get through that one for us. So that was really sweet. We didn't know quite what he'd done. We just thought maybe sometimes, I know he did play by music, but sometimes a page can form the floor, you know, that kind of thing. So we didn't know. We just thought he'd forgotten the order or something. So yeah, so that's a little bit about the pianist. We were talking about shows that I did last time, and I don't quite know why this was, but we always learn, because we did the shows and then we would then do a repeat show. Now, I don't know if it was the next year or the year after, but the same show, we would do what we call a repeat show. In between, in classes, apart from, we had exam classes separate, so we won't be learning exam dances. If you wanted to do exams, you paid another ballet class, another tap class, which was purely for your exam level. So in between lesson times of having done a show, obviously near the repeat show, we would start practicing it again. But instead of learning a new dance, we would learn the dances, the show dances of other classes. Now, as I said, she had different branches, so we didn't know these people or these dances. And there were some lovely ones I really enjoyed doing, but we never took someone's place. It wasn't a place you really left and people wouldn't drop out. It's not a dance school, it's a stage school. And one of the main differences is you don't go, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not coming anymore. It's the kind of thing you're there. It's like normal school. It wasn't like a normal school. You did do education there, but you know, like normal school, you go, that's what you do. There's none, shall I do it? Shall I not do it? You did it or you didn't do it. So yes, of course, occasionally people would leave, but you would have people start from whatever age they started, and most would keep going. Now, it's not like America and some other countries where when you get to, say, 18, that's the end, you finish and then you go off to work or college. No, this is in England, and places like that, you would carry on for as long as you wanted to. So there's adult classes, and they're not like mum's classes. They are people like myself that would have started from the beginning. You go through, even if you're professional, you might come back and still do lessons now and then, whatever else. And then you went into the adult class, which, as I say, wasn't like a mum's class. It was people that had been dancing all the time and progressed and were now adults. And I think it's very sad when there's places like America, maybe other countries too, let me know if it's in your country, where once you get to 18, you've finished. And you either go and work professionally or you go to college. I believe you can do dance at college or gymnastics at college or cheerleading at college. It's not the same, but you leave. You don't go back to dancing once you've left. They might then have mum's classes perhaps, but I find that very strange. It's not like you've reached a limit of possibilities. So that's why stage school is quite different to dance schools. Dance schools, you don't really get that progression either so much, although you do get that. So yes, we'd learn other dances, but as I say, it wasn't to fill in if people left. You never had someone go and fill in a dance place. So there's that. We also would do practice dances. Now, to be fair, these were a bit of a waste of space. It was just so your dance comprised of, let's say, a ballet class, bar work, centre work, point work if you were at that level, and then everyone wanted to do a dance at the end of the lesson. So there would sometimes be practice dances, but a bit of a waste of space, really. And the one that really sticks in my head is this. I'll tell you the background story of it first. One of my friends did leave because she moved. She moved a long way away, so she left. And so I got more with another crowd. But then these two girls came, they defected from another dance school and wanted to come here. Now, the reason they defected, part of it was this, what I've said to you, they ended up being, I think, the oldest and the best at the dance school. So they wanted to come where there was older people. A lot of dance schools don't have this older group, whereas, as I said, it's very hard to be the oldest one at stage school. And I'm not talking about educational stage schools. I'm talking about, that's something else entirely, which I'll talk about in another episode. Anyway, so she left. Anyway, these two girls had defected from a dance school and come to stage school. I thought, oh, I'll be friendly, because we weren't a place that was a clique. There was no cliques going on. There were groups. And at this point, I am the person actually in this group that's been at this stage school the longest, because some have come now from other branches of this stage school. And we were the South London group, so that was the main group. So as they got sort of their groups got smaller, because the other branches weren't quite this kettle, as I would say, where they all stayed and did everything. They were a bit more flim flam. So I thought I'd show them we're not cliquey here, which some dance schools can be. So I went over and made friends with them. Girls should never get in a group of 3 for friends. Never. Some will always be left out, whether it's at high school and you sit in 2s. Why is there always this? You've got to be 2s. 3s never really work. Anyway, they were great friends. When we got older, we went concerts, music concerts together. And I'm not knocking these girls in any shape or form. They were great friends and we got on well. Anyway, every time there was a partner dance, of course they went together. They were the best friends, fine. But because I'd not left the other group, but they then kind of got their pairs, so I was always the odd one out. Silly me, I should have stayed where I was. But anyway, I was always the odd one out. One day we had this practice dance. We're going to start a practice dance. Now, it was tap, and it was, I think it's called the Mexican hat dance. You might know it. I think it's called Mexican hat dance. It's quite fast for the tap. And she said, right, you've got to have a partner. Now, one of these two girls was away. I thought, oh, this is really cool. I've actually now got a partner. So she was off sick. She was sick. So me and one of the girls, we're dancing, we're partners, and I'm loving it. I've actually got a proper partner, because if you didn't have a partner for some reason, you started each side of the room and you faced your partner right out. If you didn't have a partner, you went to the top of the column of lines of partners, and anyone else who didn't have one would find someone there, and you made a partner, which I would normally have had to have been. And if there wasn't an extra partner, if there was an odd number, you just pretended you had a partner at the top. So I thought, cool, I've got a partner. This has really worked out for me this time. Anyway, the next week, the other girl came back and she said, right, partners. And the one I danced with went, oh, sorry, Dawn. She said, she's back now. So she's my best friend, really. So I've got to be with her. And I was devastated. I kind of wish, as I say, I like these girls. We were good friends and I kind of get it. But I wish that first week I hadn't have partnered her, and I had to said, well, I know when your friend comes back, you're going to partner her, so I'm going to find someone else, and you dance on your own, see how that feels. But as I say, they were lovely girls, and we did get on well, and yeah, I understand it, but I just thought that was a little bit mean. So I will always remember the Mexican hat dance. Isn't it funny how certain things stick in your head? Can I remember any other practice dances? Not really. I remember trauma. I definitely remember trauma. Okay, let's have a little interlude, and then I will come back to you and talk more about the show dances and things that happened in rehearsals. Okay, so I've had a little freshen up there with some water, and now let's talk about the shows I did at stage school. Now, we always had the same opening to the show and the same finale. So the opening was, first of all, we would have the first rehearsal in where we were now dancing the South London people, where we were now dancing for our main lessons. And this was a massive British Legion hall, which I've spoken briefly about before. So we would fit everybody from all the branches in the show in this like a community hall. And I remember they got all the chairs out. There was a storeroom at the side with loads of chairs, and they would get all those out and squeeze them into lines. And that's where you had to put your bag and your lunch. It was all day, the rehearsal. This was the first rehearsal. No costumes, obviously, it would have been impossible. and you would squeeze all your things. You had to have bags that would fit under the chairs, and I'll explain why. Apart from walking past, they were tightly, you didn't have much leg room because we've got to get all these children here. There's a stage on this in this hall, and she had the older age groups with chairs all on the stage, so the bigger ones were out the way, the mains were in this bit. There was a little section where the dressing room mums, I should talk about those as well, the dressing room mums would sit with the little ones and get used to those, but this is where you would meet and know who your dressing room mums were going to be, because there's several dressing rooms at the theatre, and they were mostly mums, but there were also helpers such as friends of I would like to say friends of those who took the money, and friends of the dance teachers, maybe just people they knew of. One was the dressmaker. I don't know if she had a child at the school, I don't know, but mostly they were actual mums, and you had to sign up for it. So there were dressing room mums. Now, if you were a dressing room mum, you could not watch the show. There was none of this, a different mum for a different show. There was none of that, but you could watch some of the rehearsals. So you could take the children out. I've kind of jumped from the opening at the moment, but you could take, if children weren't in very much, some of the dressing room mums could take the children out only to the circle, and you could sit and watch up there and bring them back when it was time. If your child was in the show, you could bring a group of children then. I think the actual show, you could nip out the dressing room and go up in the circle and just stand there and watch that thing, I think. Anyway, opening. So we're in the dance school hall. We're in there. And so this room where all the chairs were is now empty. It really is a side-built room, cold, and it's like on the outer side of the building, if you like. And then the adults that I talked about earlier that were in the dance show, there were each side of the stage, there were kind of like tiny little off stage, I say dressing rooms, they were tiny. You could probably fit about 20 people cramped in there, but there was one each side. So the adults were in those, the bigger after teenager age were on the stage, and everyone else was crammed on the floor, and it was very cramped. And all you wore for that, you wore your uniform, which I'm going to talk about in another episode, what we wore for uniform and how that evolved. Your uniform and a pair of quiet dance shoes, so you could wear your ballet shoes, or if you had your acro shoes, which were like gym slipper things. I think you could wear trainers, but she wanted like quiet. You couldn't have funky trainers because the opening at the actual show, you could only wear white shoes. So they had to be plain white. You wouldn't get away with today's type trainers, but that was only if you didn't have like other white shoes. I think you could wear your pink ballet shoes because ballet shoes were pink in those days. So that, but she really didn't want you wearing your tap shoes. Now, if you were doing a dance though, because we would practice some dances, not every dance, and we wouldn't run the show, then you were expected to change your shoes to the correct shoes. So let's talk about the opening, then we'll talk about that first rehearsal a bit more. So the opening, I will be doing footage at some point of the actual shows, but as I've said before, they are so grainy. They're the very first ever type of video cameras. You can't really see a lot. They're terrible quality, but you'll get an idea of what went on. And obviously in those days, when you got stage lighting on, the first video cameras couldn't really cope with that for lighting. Anyway, so I will show briefly parts of what I'm talking about in the future. So our opening, when it's at the theatre, she has the whole stage school from tallest to smallest lined up, and you come on the front of the stage. Now it's backwards to you where I'm pointing, but you come on stage left at the front, and then you weave. This is a whole line of the whole school weaving up the stage and go off stage right, singing songs. And we would sing another opening, another show, but we would change the words slightly. So our words would be another opening, another show at Wimbledon, where we always go. And I think there was another word change somewhere in the song, but it's a very famous song. And then we'd go into another song. And then just keep lapping the songs. Now, obviously, because you've got however many children and adults in this long line, when you're lined up, and I'll talk about how we did it at the theatre, when you're lined up, you can't hear what's going on at the stage. You're not that close if you're one of the last. So the dance teacher, the second in command, I think the first in command had died by now. Anyway, she would literally be, as you come on, pacing. She takes your hand as you're ready to come on. She takes you and throws you on. So it keeps an even thing. And they would be singing it the whole time. So as you're just coming down the wings of the stage, like you're lining up, coming down, ready to get to her to go on, you can hear her singing, and you're supposed to sing as soon as you can hear where they are singing. So you're singing off stage as you're coming to here. So by the time you get here, you're at the right bit of the song as they literally pass the next one on like that. Now, of course, when you get to the smaller children, a younger child would naturally do that, not go right to the edge and keep the song going and the pattern, the shape going. So what they had then is some of the dressing room mums in each of the wings where you would make the bend in the line. And the little ones had to go, they'd have their hand like this in the wings so the audience can't see them, and the little ones had to come tap their hand before they could move on to the next one, which guaranteed little ones to start doing this wiggling up the stage. Then we had tiny children, like that tall. Then we had tiny children, and what they would do with them is have them coming on at the beginning with the adult dancers, and they would hold their hands. So the ones who might not quite get on with it properly or might mess about or this kind of thing, she would put them on at the beginning with the adults. But she would always keep one cutesy back at the very end to do the fast walk, to try and keep up with the others doing the weaving, and they had to wave as they went off. But that song just went on and on and on and on. As I say, it looped into two songs. So that was always our opening. So when we were at this rehearsal in the hall, obviously, how are you doing this? So she used to have them. Oh, that was part of this first rehearsal. This first rehearsal was mostly about getting this opening sorted out and the finale sorted out. It's the only time everyone's together where she can talk and sort you out. So what they used to do, this used to take forever, size you up and get you in a line of about the right size. And I never understood when I was younger quite how I would remember they'd push you in between, if you were little, two random children you'd never seen in your life, all dressed the same. And they go, right, remember who's in front of you and who's behind you. Right, okay. And then I'm sure a lot of people didn't go to the right place again, but you knew it was height-wise. And then there used to be this thing of the little ones being like, no, I'm taller than you, I'm going in front of you. And it used to go on for ages. Obviously, the older ones sorted themselves out more or less. So because there were so many to fit in this line, now you know about why these chairs are set out. She would have us snaking round these chairs in this cupboard, big walking cupboard where the chairs were. And I always remember I was in there and it was freezing cold, to make a snaky line. And then when you went off, remember we practiced this weave thing, and she'd have chairs lined out like the stage. So this was part of the main hall. She'd put chairs like the size of the stage. Oh, she was so precise. It had to be measured out, and where the wings were. And she'd have the dressing room mums then practicing standing between the chairs. And so that took a lot of room. So she had the stage all sized out. And as you weaved off, obviously the adults first, so they went back to their little rooms. The older ones went back on the stage, and you basically zigzagged and you're almost back to your area where you were sitting. But we did that again and again and again. Obviously older ones, we know how it works. We've done it so many times, and that did used to get boring. Oh, I know what else they did at the opening. She used to have, I'm going to say 6 people, I think it was 6. They would start and they would be dressed like with a big feather, like a Tiller girl, although we had the actual Tiller girls in our show. They were part of our stage school. But they had 6 girls, I think they were from the Tiller girl group, that did go on Opportunity Knocks. If you know what that is, they were on Opportunity Knocks with our stage school owner one time. I'll have to look up on YouTube, see if I can find that. That would be pretty cool. I'll look. So they used to start off and they did sing the first bit before this weave came. I forgot about them. And then they would divide off and go in on the apron. Now, if any of you know what an apron is, I'll be talking more about the apron in the finale, because it used to scare the bejesus out of me. It's basically, you'd step over the footlights. So you've got the row of lights at the front of the stage, and then there'd be like, I'm not joking, it's like walking the plank, a little extra bit of stage to the orchestra bit. But it's high. This stage was really high. And you'd step over the footlights, walk along a little bit, and then you have the apron, which here were almost 2 semicircular bits out the front of the stage, and they had a like a handrail wooden round the front of it, and then loads of wooden steps down that you could get to the audience. And so these 6 Tiller girls would divide off and then carry on singing the whole thing. I would have hated that part till the weaving had finished, and they had to kind of coordinate with the I think it was the guy I was talking about earlier playing the piano. I think they sort of looked to him when the last lot were coming round, and they would kind of round up finishing that bit of the song. I don't know if they came back on. No, I think they just exited. They sort of stepped back over the footlights and went off. So that was the opening. And talking about how the teachers made this stage out of the chairs, the right size, this is something else that bothered me. She did it in the last few dance classes before a show. She suddenly decided we were all going to dance facing the opposite way. And that used to throw so many people that suddenly she would turn, instead of dancing always facing the stage, she suddenly said, right, when we do the show dance, we're going to flip it and you're going to face like the chairs. You're going to face the audience, if you like, or where the parents would have sat watching. And at first I used to think when I was little, oh, so the mummies can watch us do it. No, it's because she'd decided, now I don't know if the original owner had done this or whether this one who stamps her foot does it, just decided on it. She had decided not only does she know the right size of the stage, but she is going to do it because then we will be facing the right compass direction. the right compass direction. So when we go on the real stage at the theatre, we won't get confused because we would have practiced facing the right compass direction. Is that crazy or what? I don't know. That's crazy. It was really weird. I thought it was very weird. Oh dear. Anyway, so that would be our first rehearsal, and then we would also on that rehearsal practice the finale. The finale was always the same, which is comforting if you get older and you go back and you watch one of their shows or something, and I can still tell you sing the song. But what it would be is a upbeat kind of music, and then she would pick what costume you come back in for the finale. If you had a special, which I've talked about before, if you had a special, you're obviously going to be wearing that outfit. If you had a special part in something, in a dance, you would obviously come back as that. But she wanted everyone to come back representing something that had been in the show. So those who maybe just did one ballet class, the younger ones, they would be wearing that. And then what she did is you would come on from the back. Now, all of you would come on from one side. Some would come all on from the other side, each line. So line 1, line 2, line 3, so on and so forth. Some she might have 2 coming together. And then however you came on, if it was just representing basic like lesson dances, as in just your normal ballet dance, tap dance, it wasn't a special sort of dance, she would have a mix of quite a lot of them coming on together or in their various outfits. So they'll come to the front. It depends. I think if it was a ballet, you curtsied. If it was a tap, you'd bow. Sometimes she'd make you do a different pose or something, but mostly I think it was simple for most people. If it was ballet, curtsy; if it was tap, bow. Not 100% sure of that. And then when you've bowed whatever, you would fan back, and then the next lot would come, bow, curtsy, whatever, fan back. And it was all very precise where you stood when you fanned back. But she always used to get angry because all this fan back. If they didn't fan back enough, towards the end, she had smaller lines coming nearer the end, like the more specials or whatever. So less people coming on. If there was like less people coming on, then even so, if they hadn't fanned back enough, you'd be like, I think she made some sit or kneel once they'd fanned back. I'd have to go back and look at an old finale through the grainy footage and say, but I remember you'd always be treading over them. She used to get so angry and said, no, you need to all go back more, go back. And then the big adults, or some of the adults, not all of them, maybe it was all, I can't remember, when they came on and bowed, and I never wanted to be this person, but I was my last show, and I hated it. When you bowed, because there was only so much room, even though it was a proper big theatre stage, but we're talking, I don't know how many people there were. My mum's got all the old programs. I'd have to get her to count for you. There were so many on the stage that when you bowed, you then had to step over the footlights onto this walking the plank. So it is still a bit of the stage, but you had to step over these footlights over the edge, but not near the aprons. From where you bowed in the centre of the stage, step over the footlights, try and get your way all the way across, but you can't make it look like, oh my gosh, when you're doing it, and then go on the aprons. And then when everyone was on, we always sung at the end of the day, and it's really gets you. I don't know if you know it. Again, I wonder if I can show it, because I don't know if that song's copyrighted. Don't know where it comes from. It basically goes like this. At the end of the day, just kneel and say, thank you, Lord, for our work and play. We've tried to be good for as long as we could. That's our prayer at the end of the day. When the new dawn begins to break, just lift up your eyes, let your heart awake. Be ready to greet what the day may send, and be ready to greet every man as a friend. Nobody knows what a power you have found, so do what you can for the others around, and carry them high when they seem to be low, as on your way you go. And then we go back to at the end of the day. And that will stick with me. I've got a couple of words there, not sure. And it's really like, it almost sounds like a prayer. If anyone knows what that is or where it comes from, I can't sing it because you do get done for copyright if you even sing a song. So I had to speak it. I think that's okay. And of course, if you know that song, please comment below, as in if you know exactly which stage school I went to. And if you went there, or your children went there, or anything at all, please contact me. And I'm sure we've got much in common we could talk about. So that was the finale. And as I say, I had to go along there. And then when, I think, was it before we sung or after we sung? I think before we sung, they would then bring on, initially it was the owner of the school. As I say, she died. She was a very tall, prim and proper, very ballerina looking. She was a lovely lady. I had some lessons with her. She was so there on ballet. Then the Stampy lady was second in command, but she took over the school in the end. We called her Stampy lady. And then there were other people, I assume, had worked their way all through the school and were teaching there. So there were 3, 4, sometimes more, sometimes less, other teachers there as well that taught different things. So they would come on and get the flowers. And it was something to do with the Chelsea pensioners. There was a big thing there. They were watching the show. They'd sit in their uniform. There was something to do with the Merton community, and all the proceeds went to, I think, the Chelsea pensioners. And there was talks, and the mayor would always come up on stage. And I'm sure it says in the programme. I don't have any programmes. My mum does. I wonder if she'd photocopy them for me so I can maybe go through those and show you some of those. So that was the finale, basically. I think we'll talk more about the shows next time, because this is getting to be quite long, this video. Needless to say that we always got off school. Now, I went to normal school. It wasn't an educational stage school. We always got off for it. Now, because of what I just said about it was raising money or giving money to Chelsea pensioners and whatever else, technically it wasn't just like, oh, we need to be off school. It was a charity thing and so on and so forth. And when I was in high school, junior school, middle school, we just didn't, I think we were home in time. I can't remember, my mum collected us. I don't remember what happened there. But high school, we had to get permission to not be at school. And the head always said, well, if all the teachers whose subjects you will be doing, because you had to leave school early to get to Wimbledon, and they said, if all your subject teachers sign and say you can go, then you can go. And I was like, well, if we don't get to go, we're just going to have to go anyway. Or I think my mum would have just kept me off school or something, because you couldn't not go. So I think I'll finish there today, and we will carry on with this. It's a big subject and I've got so much more to share. I'm interested in your dance story. Have you ever danced? Do you still dance? What level are you? So on and so forth. And if you ever want to come and chat on my live, I can make this live anytime. So just contact me, stick in the comments below you're interested, and I will contact you and maybe you can come up here too. So we're finished there for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you will drop in again. As I say, do go back and watch the other episodes, the other lives. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.